Working the night shift at an old industrial plant is a special kind of nightmare. It's not just the eerie silence that settles over the place after hours, or the creaks and groans of aging machinery that never seem to stop. It's the feeling that something else is there, watching, waiting. We all knew it, even if we didn't say it out loud. And it was that unspoken fear that made us dread certain more than others. So when the alarms started blaring from the desolate end of the plant, the part that no one went to unless they absolutely had to, no one wanted to be the one to go reset the breaker. The five of us gathered around, knowing what had to be done, but not one of us willing to volunteer. We decided to draw straws, as we always did in situations like this. Chuck, the biggest and toughest of the bunch, pulled the short straw. I'll never forget the look on his face. This hulking, burly man, who could probably lift a car if he wanted to, suddenly looked like a frightened child. He threw a tantrum, tears welling up in his eyes as he tried to weasel out of the task. He pulled rank, playing the seniority card, and all eyes turned to me, the new guy. I didn't have much choice. The others backed him up, and before I knew it, I was trudging off toward the old reactor building with a heavy heart and a pit in my stomach. I tried to tell myself it was no big deal, just a simple task. Flip the breaker and get out. But something deep inside told me this was going to be anything but simple. The building loomed ahead of me, a massive, shadowy structure that seemed to swallow up the light from my flashlight. I pushed open the roll-up doors, and the alarm greeted me like a banshee's wail, the lights flashing rhythmically as if to some unseen pulse. But as I stepped inside, the sound seemed to fade into the background, overtaken by an oppressive silence that pressed down on me like a physical weight. That's when I saw it, the upstairs monitoring station, with its grimy windows and the faint glow of an old neon exit sign casting an eerie light over the room. And there, in the window, sat an old Victorian-style doll. It was just sitting there, its porcelain face cracked and its dress tattered and yellowed with age. Even from where I stood, I could see the doll's eyes, those cold, dead eyes that seemed to be watching me, tracking my every move. I shook my head, trying to convince myself it was just a trick of the light, a shadow playing games with my mind. But as I walked past, I saw its head move, ever so slightly, in my direction. I forced myself to focus on the task at hand, the breaker box. It wasn't far, just a few steps away. But with every step, the doll's presence weighed on me, as if it were pulling me back, urging me to stay. I reached the box, reset the breaker, and without looking back, bolted for the door. My heart was pounding in my chest, and the air seemed thick with a sense of impending doom. But as I reached the door, I couldn't help myself. I had to look. I had to know if the doll was still there. Slowly, I turned and glanced up at the window. It was gone. A chill ran down my spine. Did it fall? Did it just disappear? I wasn't about to stick around to find out. I ran out of that building faster than I thought possible, not stopping until I was back in the central operations room, surrounded by the safety of my coworkers. I didn't say a word about what I saw. I didn't need to. But within the hour, the same alarm went off again. Another breaker had tripped, and someone needed to go back to the building to reset it. I flat out refused.
No!
The others didn't push me on it, not after seeing the look in my eyes. We drew straws again, and this time, Ryan pulled the short one. He looked nervous, but I couldn't let him go alone. Something about that doll gnawed at me, and I needed to know if it was really gone. I told Ryan I'd go with him, and together we made our way back to the reactor building. Ryan went straight for the breaker, wanting to get in and out as quickly as possible. But I headed upstairs, toward the monitoring station. My heart pounded in my ears as I climbed the steps, each one echoing through the empty building like a death knell. The door to the room was stiff, the knob caked in dust, a sign that no one had been in there for a long time. But as I turned the knob, I smeared the dust, leaving behind a trail that only served to heighten my dread. The room was exactly what I expected, dusty, filled with cobwebs, and the air thick with the musty scent of decay. There were a couple of old desks, an unplugged, outdated computer monitor, and not much else. But at the far end of the room, there was a closet door, closed and silent. I stood there, staring at the door, every instinct screaming at me to leave. But I couldn't. I had to know. I inched closer, my breath coming in short, ragged gasps. The silence was suffocating, broken only by the sound of my own heartbeat. Then the door began to creak open. It was slow, deliberate, each creak echoing through the room like a warning. My heart felt like it was going to explode, and I was frozen in place, unable to move. The door opened wider and wider, revealing nothing but darkness beyond. James, let's go. Ryan's voice shattered the silence, and I bolted, my legs finally responding. I didn't dare look back as I raced down the stairs, catching up with Ryan as he sprinted out of the building. We didn't stop, running until we were back up the hill, the reactor building far behind us. I never told anyone what I saw, or what I almost saw, in that room. But I couldn't shake the feeling that the doll was somehow connected to something darker, something that didn't belong in this world. And the worst part? I had a feeling this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. As I lay in bed that day, trying to will myself to sleep, I couldn't help but wonder, where did that doll go? And what would have happened?